Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gene Pfeiffer, president at Bethany Lutheran College, and I am just pleased and privileged to welcome you here today as we come together to thank a person who has contributed to Bethany long-term, many blessings, long-lasting contributions of another one of our valued Bethany Lutheran College professors, Dr. Thomas A. Kuster. Feel welcome to chime in at any time. Whether as a student, a colleague, or a friend of Bethany, we're all well aware of Tom's contributions to the college as he led the development of one of Bethany's first majors. And I don't know all the history, but I think I heard were there two majors at first? Liberal arts and communications. And one that brought status to our college. So it's a tribute to God's blessings upon Tom's work that we're all here today. This afternoon, our program includes a few speakers who will talk to Tom's contributions to Bethany. Then we'll unveil the banner, and then I'll ask Tom to come up to share some words as well. We'll begin by having Mr. Ron Young, who served as he served many roles at Bethany, but a longtime vice president of academic affairs at the college. Ron will speak in terms of the history of the development of our communications program. Mr. Ron Young.
I think it was about a week ago that Art gave me a phone call and asked me if I would be interested in saying a few words here. And I was so pleased, actually, to get the call. Not that I was expecting it, but just to have the opportunity. Mainly because my thoughts about Tom are profound, I think, and I have so much respect. And he was such a great faculty member, an anchor of our faculty for many years, and I was fortunate enough to be involved as the dean of academic affairs, and so it's a privilege to stand here and give you some thoughts. Now, I picked up this brochure yesterday because I wanted to know, well, what have you already printed up? And Art gave me this. I took it home and I read it and I thought, well, what am I going to say? This is really well done. And then I got to thinking, well, there are some things that you wouldn't know that I do know about Tom and Judy and their family. And so I'll try to focus on those things a little bit. So this goes back to the 1960s because I first met Tom here on this campus when I was a student. And he was, I think you were teaching, but I don't have all the details of it. I just remember he's this tall guy with a great voice. And I didn't have him in class, but my wife Mary did. And she really enjoyed him and got to know Tom very well. And of course, Judy, you were a classmate of Mary's, so we knew each other pretty well. As a matter of fact, as I look back at our marriage book, one of the pictures scans the crowd at Concordia in Eau Claire, and there was Tom and Judy, along with many of our other friends that were there for the wedding. Well, that was the 1960s, and then, I went to Illinois. Mary and I went to Illinois. We taught there a couple of years and then returned to Mankato, and then Tom and Judy were living in New Ulm, and I just remember this so clearly. We were in New Ulm, and I don't think we had told you we were going to be there or anything. It was just, hey, why don't we stop and see Tom and Judy? And so we did, and it was at that time that I learned that they had adopted a family. They had their own family. They adopted additional children. And I remember the conversation on the way home talking about this enormous task that they had taken on. And I think my admiration for both of them took a big jump at that particular time, because it's hard enough to have your own family, but to actually adopt an additional family and all that involves, it's pretty remarkable. And they've done it so well, along with all the other things that you know about. And I'm sure you're probably aware of that as well, but I was just really impressed. So then there's a time lapse, and I'm thinking I kind of got out of coaching and moved into administration, and actually in 1989, President Meyer asked me if I would be the Dean of Academic Affairs. And honestly, it's the only other job on campus that I ever had any interest in. I did not want to be the Dean of Students. That was offered at one time. But yeah, to have the opportunity to lead the faculty, that was something that I thought I would like to do if I ever had the opportunity. And I had worked with Dr. Kessel enough to know what it sort of entailed. So anyway, I had that opportunity. So I'm sure a lot of people have different ideas about academic affairs. What is the most important part of academic affairs? Is it curriculum? Is it assessment? Well, my feeling really came from when I was a coach, because I knew one thing, that if I had really good players, I was a really good coach. And if I didn't, I wasn't a very good coach. So it was the faculty, the quality of the faculty, that really interested me. And if I was going to have any success in my position, I was going to have faculty that were really good. They had to cover up for a lot of my insufficiencies. Marv came to me, it must have been, so I started in that office in fall of '89, and it must have been during the year that we learned of the Eleanor B. Wilson chair. The first chair, gosh, we hardly knew what that was. But it was funded, and so we had this opportunity to bring on a faculty member in the area of speech and communication. And so I remember the conversation. Mar said, well, what do we do? Well, we didn't have a human resources office where you post this in and you get all the applications, you look. We didn't do it that way back then. We just tried to think of who would be a good candidate. And my comment to him was, there is only one candidate for this, and it's a really good one. I think Tom Kuster would be the ideal person to lead the communication department and to develop the speech program. And so that's the direction. And Tom came on in January, I believe, in '91, and it just took off. It was amazing how quickly things happen. I think it says something about Tom that, you know, he just moves quickly, and it moves in a good direction fast. I describe him as visionary in that sense, that he envisions things that most of us don't, and then he carries through with them. And I know supportive family and all of those kind of things, but you know, that's what I would call the genius of Tom Kuster. So that was one candidate, and we got him. And I think that, and I don't want to, I think of all the people that I had my hand in bringing to this campus during the 21 years that I was in that office. And I think of all the really wonderful faculty that came on during that time. So I'm not going to say he was the number one, because that would mean that there's a number two and a number three. There are some that in my mind rise to the top, but I don't know of any faculty member that came on during that tenure of 21 years that's had a greater profound effect than Tom Kuster. So, the 1990s were a wonderful time to be on this campus. Most of you know that we had money. And we could do a lot of things. And when you got a visionary guy like this around, well, there's ways that you can spend the money. All of a sudden, the communication program was flourishing. Faculty development was flourishing. We were hiring and everything, and Marv was building. The campus was expanding, and a lot of exciting things happened. So 1996 rolls around. During that previous year, I'm making this really long-winded. I hope I'm not taking too much time. But these are things that really have left an impression in my mind. There was a question about the four-year program. The four-year program, well, the faculty, is kind of ambivalent about that. That's a big job. That's an awful lot of new things. And so the faculty conducted a year-long investigation of the implications of a four-year program. And I believe it was about a 20-page report was submitted to the Board of Regents and to President Meyer that would have been in the spring of 1996. The board met in May, and they decided that despite what the report said, which indicated, I think we had to wait a little longer, that's really what the essence of it, that we're going to move ahead with this. So the summer goes by, and then we meet at Cragen's in a faculty retreat. And everybody's really, why did the board do this? We said we didn't think we were ready, and the board said we were, and President Meyer said we were. So the first day was not real pleasant at the resort. There was a lot of grumbling and, mumbling going on. I think the next morning was the most important day of President Meyer's presidency because he knew what was going on. And he knew about the ambivalence of this move. Anyway, he spoke to the faculty, and the whole faculty and staff were there for about an hour. And after that, there was no turning back. It was a great speech. It was a convincing speech that we were ready. We had the resources, and let's move ahead. Let's go. And the faculty did. And they told us we wanted to have two majors ready by the fall 1999. The faculty very, very quickly decided what the first major should be. Guess what? It was communication. Why? Great leadership and already moving fast. And so it was an easy decision. Second decision wasn't so easy. But it was a decision that I think moved the faculty and the staff along pretty quickly because we thought, we're a liberal arts college, why wouldn't we have a liberal arts major? It makes sense. And so all of the departments were required to produce 4 upper division courses, and they would become concentrations. The concentrations would eventually become minors, and the minors would become majors. We had no idea it was going to move that fast. It moved really fast. By 1999, those were ready to go. And the reason they were ready to go was a curriculum committee, which included Tom Kuster and a number of other really good leaders on this campus, some of whom are still here. And so in the spring of 2002, we had our first 30 graduates. And I think you probably remember what we did. We invited all 30 of them out to a fancy restaurant out north of town here, and we had a really nice dinner. First one. I think that's the only time we did that, was the first one. Kind of expensive. By that time, there wasn't as much money. So anyway, I think that well over half of those 30 were communication majors. I think maybe like 18, and there were 12 liberal arts majors. So it was such an exciting time, and Tom was right in the middle of all of it. Since then, and I see faculty members from the communication departments out there and sort of nodding as I mentioned some of these things, they have taken the lead. You train really good people, and they've taken over. And I look at what's going on within the communication and the media area, and it's just remarkable. And finally then, Tom is ready to retire. So what does Tom do? He gets a grant, and it's Christ in Media. And I think that's the overriding thing, is that through this all, there was all this professionalism and development of ideas. But through it all was, I think, even a bigger overriding theme, and that's that he wanted this to have an impact spiritually on the world. And that's what I see happening. It's really true. And the communication department will go on without Tom, because he has had an impact on all of you who are here now. But the Institute has great potential beyond today and beyond. I was, again, looking at this, and again, it says so much here, but I want to read that last paragraph because I think that sums it up for me. It was Dr. Kuster's vision that helped to lead both the college and the communication program into new and exciting endeavors. His ideas, plans, and efforts allowed the communication program at Bethany to flourish and to become what is now considered to be a regional, if not national, leader in communication studies. It's true. That is true. And Tom, I'll never forget the planning that you put in and your staff put in when we put that major together. I think there were three parts to it. And he brought in an expert from, what was the name of this? Well, Calvin College, but there was one in North Carolina, Mars Hill.
That's right.
And it was a leading expert, and you had met her, and she came in and she said, you have such an opportunity here. You're not, and she was in competition, I think, with North Carolina, University of North Carolina, and they were better than University of North Carolina. Mars Hill was big time. She said, you've got the same opportunity here. And I think she recognized who was leading it and the process that you were taking us through to put together a major that was going to last and have potential for growth and development, which it has. So anyhow, congratulations, Tom, and I'm really pleased that you're going to be honored in this way, and I think you've just been an outstanding Christian faculty member and leader on this campus, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Ron. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Greg Vandermus. He's the manager of the Bethany Production Studio, and he's an adjunct faculty member in our Media Arts program. Greg will speak in terms of the current happenings in the program due to Tom's vision. Greg.
Guess I don't get the applause like everybody else did so far. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not quite there yet, so. Thank you, Gene. Thank you to everybody for being here today on this special occasion. I've been working at Bethany for a little over 5 years and currently serving as a studio manager. And I've had the privilege in my time to have been a part of Tom's courses and a part of the communication program in its infancy years in the early 2000s. And the studio here has come a long ways from then to now, and it continues to grow every year, and it's truly exciting to see all the opportunities and experiences that we get to share with our students due from Tom's vision. After I graduated Bethany in 2006, I took a job at ESPN out in Bristol, Connecticut. I spent close to 7 years working there, and it was a fantastic experience. There are a few moments when you're working a place such as ESPN and doing Monday Night Football and working amongst some great individuals in sports production that you kind of pinch yourself. And I'm always a big fan of taking time to look back at where I came from and the experiences that led me to where I am. And my mind always comes back to Bethany and the experiences that I had here and the time that I had in the communication program and the classes I've taken with Dr. Kuster and the conversation and words of encouragement that he's given me throughout the years. More importantly, while the job at ESPN was a wonderful experience, it taught me the importance of holding true to my faith and holding true to the one thing needful, that Jesus is our Savior. And working at a place such as ESPN and the Walt Disney Company might not align with everything that we believe in. There are some trying times and some tough moments. But it only made me stronger. And as a result of my Bethany experience and being in the communication program under Dr. Kuster, that you can be a Christian and you can work in media. And we are 100% showing our students that you can do that. And you can go out in the world and you can do all those things. While that is my story alone, I know that there are numerous alums out there that feel that same way. And I get to share those experiences with them, and we talk about it a lot. Now, I have the honor and privilege to work here at Bethany and lead the next generation and to lead our studio. To see where the studio began only 20 years ago to where it is now in this fantastic facility here in Honsey Hall is truly remarkable. Our hockey program, now entering its 18th season, actually tonight as we begin, broadcasting Division I hockey games with Minnesota State. And in less than 4 weeks, we'll produce our second game on national television this year alone on Fox Sports. We've added graphic design, media arts, and soon a broadcast journalism major that will all fall under our new communication and visual arts division at Bethany. You look around and you see the vision of Dr. Kuster and all that the opportunities and experiences that our students get here. The studio has built a reputation of excellence in production and content creation. Most of all, we look forward to carrying out that vision to share with our students that they still can be true in their faith and know that Jesus is their Savior no matter where they go in life, and to be a shining beacon for those wherever they come across. I want to congratulate Dr. Kuster on this truly deserving honor for your vision and for your leadership at Bethany, and I'm extremely honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much, and congratulations on this honor.
Next, without any further delay, let's unveil the signage. Kind of cool, huh? Tom, I and all of us congratulate you for the impact your vision continues to have on our campus today. You certainly built a pillar that has deeply become part of Bethany's core, and always under God's guidance and blessings. So a big victory for all. I'd like you to come up and address the group a little bit, and please, let's welcome Tom.
Hope I make it through this.
I'll stand behind you.
Well, I'm a college teacher. I don't know if I can speak without a PowerPoint. But I will try, and you've been standing for a while. I hope you'll indulge me because I want you to know how much I appreciate you all being here, and I would like the Regents and the administration to know how much I appreciate and I'm touched and moved by this very important and somewhat bewildering honor. But especially I would like all of you to know what I see when I look up and see those words above this door, because it's the same thing I hope you will see when you see them as well. For me, it has to be a representation. Those words have to represent other people in at least three groups. First of all, they represent everyone who works at Bethany. I've been around long enough to know that there are others who have been at Bethany as long as I have, some longer. There's others who have worked as hard at Bethany as I have, some harder. There's still others who would have worked as long and been at Bethany, worked as hard and been at Bethany as long as I have, but the Lord had other plans for them. Being at Bethany is way more than just a job. It's even more than a calling. It's a dedication, it's a passion. And there are many here who fit that description, who have done that and are doing that at Bethany. There aren't enough doors on campus to recognize all of them, many of them standing right here now. And so when I look up there, those are the people I see, and I hope you do too. And secondly, I think that represents everyone who is able to reach out with unselfish love and support and help others who are doing the Lord's work. Nobody accomplishes anything alone. And this is my chance to recognize some of the people who have been particularly helpful to me and those who are particularly helpful to anyone else, and that's who I see here. First and foremost, of course, is my best friend and loving companion for more than 50 years, and the love of my life, my Judy McGinnis, who I met at Bethany, and whom I'm convinced somewhere in her early days took angel lessons, because that's who she has been to me and who she continues to be to many people even now. And then there's the rest of my family, my children and their spouses, my grandchildren, some of whom are here, some of whom couldn't be here. But we love you all, and we're proud of you all. And my sister, Ruth Ann Mickelson, and her husband, Bob, who could come, my brother, Ted, and his wife, Helga, who couldn't. You know, we have from God unconditional love. And for that, we are thankful to God every day of our lives. But when that unconditional love can also come from the people close to you, that's a reflection of God's love, and it becomes even more special because of that. There are others, and I know you've been standing a long time, but I need to mention some more people. And I have a list because I don't want to realize later that I forgot somebody. I have to remember President B.W. Tigan, who brought me here to this campus for the first time in 1962 to teach English and Latin in the college while I was attending the seminary, and he permitted me to start a debate team, which was my passion. I can't pass this up. Speaking of Tigans, there's my good friend of many, many years, Erling Tigan, my seminary classmate who, how do you say it, he's had my back in many occasions throughout the more than a half a century now. And I've appreciated him so much. Then there's President Marv Meyer, who brought me to campus a second time in 1991, and Paul Twite and Stanley Reinholtz, who worked with my good friend, our dear friend Eleanor Wilson, to create what was entitled the Eleanor Wilson Chair of Speech/English Communication. There's a mouthful of a chair. You'll never get that chair in your mouth. And you'll never hear that sentence again. But it was an offer I couldn't refuse, and it's a blessing that I have thanked God for literally every day of my life since then. I also have to thank seminary president, Wilhelm Peterson and Galen Schmeling, who made me welcome on the seminary faculty and gave me the opportunity to be of service to a whole generation of young pastors in our and other synods. And what a blessing that has been for me. Of course, Ron, who spoke so graciously before, Ron Young, was a support to me, a personal friend, support personally and professionally, really went to bat for the communication program and for the speech team for many years, and owe so much to that leadership and that mentoring. President Marv Meyer, again, is the one who had the vision to authorize the construction of a media studio, production studio, when we became a four-year school. Marv had a lot of vision. I don't know if he had visions, but maybe that too, but that was important, that was key. And at this point, I need to mention CJ, Chris Johnson, who was an inspiration to me when he was a student. He was our first national champion in forensics. But then he went on to become the leader of the studio. His vision for this studio surpassed even mine. And he laid the foundation on which the very talented Greg here and his team are still building so importantly. And I love and miss Chris. Then there's the communication faculty, all those years, and especially those first years of the major, what energy they had, what hard work they did. It was just a creative time for all of us, and something I'll never forget. Have to mention the staff. Boy, they're important. They helped so much and contributed so much to us. And then about the Christ in Media Institute, I have to recognize and thank the regents once again for taking a risk and enabling us to get that institute started here. And then also a special mention to two people, Art Westfall and Daniel Mundell. Without them, the Christ in Media Institute would not have survived and would not be here today. And then, of course, Don Molstead and Bill Bukowski, who've been on the board of directors for the Christ in Media Institute ever since we founded it in 2009. So I could go on, and if I did, it would include everybody here who's been of help and support to me and to many other people. But before I do, I have to mention the students, because they've been an inspiration all along. You know, there's a saying that says that if you love your job, you never have to go to work. And because of the students, I think I never went to work a day at Bethany. Every class has been an inspiration. In the seminary, it's so fun to work and interact with those students there, and the classrooms in the college. And I have to mention two special groups, and one is the students who stuck with us when we started the four-year school. They had their AA degrees. They could have gone anywhere. We were a new four-year school. We had no track record. We had no reputation. And they took the chance and they said, okay, we'll be Bethany graduates. And they did. And so they graduated in 2000. Did we have a class in 2001 and 2 and 3 and 4? And then they went out and they did some wonderful things. And they gave us a track record and a reputation that we could be proud of, and we owe so much to them. And then, of course, there were the speech teams. And so many of you good friends are back here today. I appreciate it. Going to have fun talking with you. But we had fun, didn't we? Representing Bethany and eating Chinese food around the state of Minnesota, and around the country, in Georgia and in Florida and in Texas and in California and in Oregon, and even overseas in Romania and Macedonia and Serbia. Those were fun times. a lot of stories. And of course, I remember the people who brought back the medals and the trophies. Every one of those was such a fun occasion. On the state champions and national champions. But I also remember those who never broke into a final round. But they worked and they learned and they improved in their skill and their poise. And by doing that, they demonstrated what a speech team program is really all about. And here I have to express my appreciation to John Logging, who again was one of those students who inspired me, became a leader, and then went on to lead the speech team even now, and built and developed and built on that foundation, developed the traditions, and is continuing to coach speech the way a speech team ought to be coached. I appreciate that. So all those people who helped me, and let's include everybody who helps other people in doing the Lord's work and fulfilling their Christian calling, they're up there. When I look up there, that's who I see. And then finally, let me include all of you, because when I look up there, I'm going to see everyone who has the blessing from God to be able to lead a Christian life of service. And that's all of us. If there's a list of accomplishments next to my name, the list of failures and mistakes is much longer. Those failures and mistakes are mine. The accomplishments belong to God, to our Lord Jesus. That's the way it is with a Christian life. That's the way it is with all of you here and all of us. It works like this, you know. Long time ago, God chose us. And then he went to work and he sent his son into the world. And that son lived that life of perfect love and service to God that escapes us, it's beyond us. But he offered that life up to God as if it were ours. He made it ours. That's our life. Jesus' life is ours. And then he took those mistakes and he took those failures and those sins and he took them to the cross, and there he paid the penalty that we owed God, the punishment that we deserved. All that's wiped away in Jesus' work for us. But he wasn't done yet. Then he sent his Holy Spirit, and he called us, each of us, through our baptism and through his word. And he equipped us and enabled us to do his work so that our mouths and our lips could speak his words of peace to the people around us, and so that our hands could do the tasks that he wanted done in this world. That's a Christian life, and that's all of us. And so when I look up there, I see all of you. I see everyone who's worked hard at Bethany. I see everyone who has, in love and selflessness, reached out to support and help other people as they serve others. You know, when Jesus sent his 70 disciples out, as we read in Luke chapter 10, he gave them some amazing powers. And we read, they came back rejoicing. They said, Lord, wow, look at the wonderful things we could do out there. I mean, even the evil spirits obeyed us. And Jesus replied, remember? He said, don't rejoice that the evil spirits obeyed you. Don't rejoice at anything you do, even if I empower you to do it. But rejoice instead because your name is written, not above a door, but your name is written in heaven. That's why we rejoice. And so again, I thank you all for coming. I thank the regents and the administration for this honor. But let me sum it up, if I may borrow some words from someone else. This is from Isaac Watts, and if you know these words, you can say them with me. When I survey that wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss and pour contempt on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast save in the death of Christ my Lord. All those vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to his blood. Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were a tribute far too small. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all. To God alone be the glory.
Thank you so much for your words, Tom, and that was so well said. And we all at Bethany certainly thank God for the gifts that he's given you to use in service to Bethany and to his kingdom. So thank you for that. I want to thank all of you for coming today, and I invite you to stay for some refreshments that I believe are going to be served in the communications, in the Thomas A. Kuster Media Center. Let's get it right. And there you can enjoy some opportunity to congratulate Tom and his family and enjoy conversation. Thank you again for coming.